And we live. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's time for another exciting episode of IT Career in Australia channel. And tonight's topic is step-by-step guide to building a successful cloud career. So thank you so much for finding some time to joining us this evening. Please don't forget to introduce yourselves in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your questions and comments. Or at least say hi in the comments because it's nice and people saying hi in the comments so we know you're here. I'm Jana Martins and I'm currently working in IT consultancy. So I'm passionate about learning more about present and future of tech industry. So I'm always eager to share my latest findings and insights with you on this channel. So tonight we're going to talk again, topic step-by-step guide to building a successful cloud career. And Mayank is going to share his insights and experience. We'll discuss how we can, how people can approach cloud certification, which cloud platform to choose in the beginning. So how can someone learn cloud if they're not currently using cloud in their workplace? So, and other and much more on the cloud topic. So please make sure tag and share this video with your colleagues and friends who need to hear this. So before I'll pass it over to Mayank to introduce himself, just want to quickly remind you that we're streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you miss the stream, no worries. You can always watch the replay by subscribing to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. So I'm going live there every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time with various experts from my network. And we're talking about all the things around IT career, job search, and in and out of tech industry in Australia. I also have a meetup group that you can join, so you make sure you never miss the next event. And I always encourage you to use these streams not only to learn something, but also network with people in the industry. You can ask as many questions as you want, but please stay on the topic. And also, the most active participants will receive a nice surprise at the end of the stream. So people, don't forget to say hi in the comments, because if you're not saying hi, it feels like it's crickets here and we're just talking with ourselves and it's not fun. So that's enough of me. So I'm passing on to Mayank to introduce himself, please.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Yana. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. My name is Mayank Pandey, and I've been working in cloud space for last 10, 12 years, roughly now. I've been in IT industry for the last 15 years. I've done various roles, but I think in 2012, I got a chance to work with cloud, and from that time onwards, have been in this space doing things, different type of roles, working with organizations of different sizes, be it small small organizations to enterprises, help them in the cloud adoption, all those type of things. um, have done a decent amount of video tutorials on YouTube. I run a small YouTube channel, and have done so. Like, I try and teach a lot of people on that channel. So I'm also an AWS community hero, which means that if I can help community in any way, I'm always eager to do that. Right. So yeah, that's about me. I'm also based in Melbourne, and thank you, Yana, for inviting me here.
Thank you. Thank you, Maya. Quite a few people saying hi. James is here. Eduardo is here. Vijay is here. Anastasia is here. Thank you guys for saying hi. You said nice people saying hi. So, but I can see that more people watching and didn't see the hi
Not
from you
saying
yet.
hi.
So please make sure to say hi. It's always nice, and people joining. So Mike, I guess the first question, just a bit of a broader one. Just if you can tell us a little bit about what inspired you, to pursue a career in the cloud industry. How did you get started? And obviously, you have a massive following on the YouTube channel as well, talking about AWS certifications. So yeah, just give us a bit of a story, like why you're so passionate about it.
Well, when I started in cloud, and I said in the year 2012, it was really not a planned one, like how people do it nowadays. Of course, with a lot of interest, people get into the cloud space and try to learn it. When I started uh, with cloud, it was more like my boss pushing for it, right? That's how it was, right? So joined an organization, and boss comes to me and says that. This is new thing which, there's a new product which we are building, and we will be deploying it on cloud. And of course, I did not have any idea that what is meant by cloud or how are we going to do that, right? So okay, we started exploring. We did not have a lot of people around whom we can just go and ask that how to go ahead and do these things. But uh, so it took a lot of reading around, right? Because when you do not have others whom you can just go and ask, generally for the technologies which have been around, it is quite easy. You have seniors available, you can go ahead and ask. But then for something new which has just come around or which is just getting adopted, it becomes difficult. But then that's a time when you have to adopt the strategy that, if nothing else, at least look at the documentation of that particular product. So we were using AWS right from start in our organization, and because of that, I started going through AWS documentation, and it took some decent amount of time to get started because a lot of resources were not there. So that's how it started. And I had not I mean it was not planned, but then I got more and more interest in that, and then continued to work in the cloud space after that. uh, uh, I think so yeah, that's how it shaped up. And then I got opportunity to work with AWS for some time, and then I worked with a big enterprise called Unilever for some time. And I got to see the way cloud is used on the ground. So that gives you a lot of perspective around what is required from people when they need to do things on the ground. And it's not just about uh, learning something at a very superficial level. And I think in cloud in cloud space, I think that's very important, because you have lot of openings or lot of jobs, I think, in the cloud space. But then there is always a lack of talent. If you go and search in the market, there's always a lack of talent. So I think we'll try and talk more about it, that how we can build it. But yeah, that's how it started for me, and I think it's going good.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's always good to hear that someone's doing good. So
Yeah,
we have
i'm
few
i'm
more
i'm
people.
happy. I'm happy in the role. I'm happy with the work which I'm doing. I'm happy with the role which I'm doing. I don't look for change generally, so it's nice.
Yes, yes, and I think that's really important, and we're happy to listen and learn from people who are happy with what they're doing. So I think that's one thing to maybe help other people to find themselves and be happy in their roles as well. There's a few people saying hi. Anderson is here, Rajashri here, Humanshu here. Thank you guys. We see, I asked to say hi, and a few people jump. Um, Hrishikesh saying, "Hi Mayak, how could a person with 15 years of experience move to cloud? What would be the target roles for such person?" I'm glad, Hrishikesh, that you asked this question, because it's exactly what we're going to talk about. But just stay with us. We're going to do a bit of the step by step, as we said, step by step guide. So please bear with us, because actually, what's the objective for our discussion today, Mayak?
Yep.
What's
It
uh,
is
what's the
like
main goal
what.
of our discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, we want to kind of address the learners from different with different profile, how Rishikesh has just now asked a person with 15 years of experience. I'm sure there are other peoples who are listening or who would be listening to this stream later on, who come with different set of years of experience. What we want to do here is we want to kind of present a path which is suitable to you. Doesn't matter from which profile you come from, and of course it's not just one which will suit everyone. So what I've done here is I've actually try to break it down, for three different type of profiles. If you can just look at that, that would
Yeah,
be
and
cool.
guys, before we jump to these profiles, if you're listening, obviously you're listening. We know you're listening. If you can put, please, your years of IT experience in the chat,
Yeah.
that would be also really helpful. That we know basically what sort of experience you have, and we can think we can also adapt our discussion, so you can benefit from our discussion today the most. So please put years of IT experience in the chat, and the
Mhm.
three different profiles that the Mayak is going to talk today is
Are here, yeah. So what we have done here is, if you typically look at, and you know let me know if this is making sense. But normally, based on my experience, I've seen this. There are people who are kind of getting started, so typically 0 to 4 years, mid experienced folks 5 to 11, and senior professionals who are from anywhere between 12 to 22. Now those are not hard boundaries. Of course, there are people who might be doing a quite a senior role even with 10, 11 years of experience. So don't hold me on that, right? It's more like, depending on where you stand. And what I've tried to do is, we'll try and talk about all these three profiles. That if you're a starter, if you're a mid experience, or you're a senior professional, what type of approach you should take, uh, so that you can build a career in cloud. What sort of certifications you should take, what type of role you should target, what are those skill sets which you should try and learn. So that's what we are going to do.
yeah. Few people commenting. James saying 23 years of
Wow.
experience in desktop support mostly.
Mhm.
So guys, please put the years of experience so we can navigate our discussion as well. Yeah, so I guess let's start from the beginning. So the first kind of pathway. So someone who don't have that much experience in IT field, yeah, maybe just starting or have a few years experience. So what the pathways for these people?
Yep. So the thing which we need to understand is that, I'm sure, uh, you would have heard about roles like cloud admin, cloud engineer, those type of things. Those are there, of course. I think, yeah. So let the slide be. So those are there, of course. But in addition to that, we also need to understand that, uh, you'll also have roles like, let's say, a developer, a software developer, or a software engineer, right? You will always have other developers, like, let's say, different types of admins as well. So what's happening is that, with cloud coming into picture, and cloud is being adopted at a really large scale, you can go ahead and read about it. uh, what's happening is, an element of cloud is coming into every role, right? So it's not necessary. For example, if you are a developer today, and you, let's say, you do Java related development, or you are a .NET developer, it's not necessary that you have to, totally leave what you're doing, and you have to just target to become cloud engineer. That's not the thing. Of course, there are roles which are like cloud engineers, or you will have roles like cloud admin. You will see that's also there. But then you need to understand that the type of role which you are currently doing, whether you are a storage admin, or you are a network admin, or let's say you are a developer, or you are a database person, even within your role, you will have element of cloud coming in. So what you need to do is, basically, two things, right? First is that you need to be good in your own skills. So if you're a programmer, you need to improve on the programming skills, for sure. If you are an administrator, you need to improve on those skills. Plus, in addition to that, you need to pick on the cloud knowledge. So what does that mean? It means, you need to have in-depth knowledge of those cloud services which align to your area. Now the question could be, what aligns to my area? So if you are a developer, right, you would typically look at those cloud services which are used, via API calls within your application. For example, you were probably using your own queue solution earlier, and now you can go ahead and use SQS. You can go ahead and use SNS or S3 or DynamoDB. So these are the services which are managed, are offered by AWS. You can just go ahead and use via their API or SDK in your application, right? So you need to you and in the same way, if somebody is an administrator, that person would focus more on, let's say, the core services like VPC, IAM, those type of things. So I mean, I'll not get into each one of that. You can always go and just look at the core services which relate to the specific path of developer or admin, and try to learn those services to the depth. And that's where I had mentioned that you need to have attribute level knowledge. When I say attribute level knowledge, I'm saying you need to go into quite depth, right? AWS has got 200 plus services. You don't need to know all the services, of course, but those services which align to your role, get proper depth of it, do hands on work. And I think the last point there is related to certification. Everybody wants to know which certification I should do if I'm starting. So I've mentioned their associate level certification is generally sufficient. Some of you might be thinking, why did I not mention cloud practitioner? Right. So I think anybody who is going to work on the technical side, associate is a good level to start with. With practitioner, you do not get that much of depth. I think associate would be a better one to prove that you know things to a certain level. Of course, certification alone is not the answer to the questions. You need to have real hands-on knowledge. You need to go ahead and do things so that you can answer in the interview. I'll take a pause there, and we'll see if we have got more questions before we move ahead.
We actually have, plenty of questions, but I think some of
Okay.
them we're gonna cover in the next few slides. Maybe
Hmm.
let's go through two more slides that you have, and then
Hmm.
we'll go back to the questions because it might cover some of them. So yeah, so I guess
Sure.
the next step is, if someone has a bit of a longer career in IT, so they have like over 4 years. So what is, I guess, your suggestions of their path with some mid-level experience?
Yeah, sure. So if you remember, for the mid experience, I had put a range of like anywhere between like 5 to 12 years roughly, and it can be slightly plus or minus, right, depending on the type of work which you have done. Now, generally, if you look in the market, people who come in this particular experience range, they are supposed to lead things on the technical front. Doesn't matter what role they are doing. They are generally the uh, most knowledgeable technical person, you can say, in that field. That's the type of role which they take. So they could be like senior administrators or lead administrators, whether it is database, network, storage, etc., etc., or they could be the senior developer, senior software engineer, those type of things. You will also see that in this range you will have architects, and architects could be application architects, infrastructure architects who specialize on security or network alone. Those type of people also you will get. So when these people, and we are discussing that, let's say these people do not have cloud knowledge currently, and they need to pick up on the cloud knowledge. So when we say that, I think uh, there it becomes important that these people need to get, I mean, you need to choose that what sort of a specialty you want to do, right? So from certification perspective, if you see, I'll just go to certification for a moment, because uh, at this level, if you are targeting to do a certification, you need to look at either professional level certifications in AWS or a specialty. Like in professional, you have got solutions architect professional, and you have DevOps engineer professional, and then you have a specialty around database security, networking, and a couple of more, right? So uh, that's the certification which you should be targeting. But when it comes to the knowledge, right, here you see one point which I have written. Of course, goes without saying that you need to have very thorough knowledge of core services, because you might be working in in any organization, but you would be the one who would be kind of uh, either you would be involved in taking those core decisions at technical level. So your core knowledge should be really strong. And when I say core knowledge, core AWS services knowledge, I mean like compute services, networking on AWS or any other cloud, um, IAM, identity and access management. So these things are like really really important, and you need to have a thorough in-depth knowledge of these services. In addition to that, you may choose that which area or which part do you want to specialize in. It could be that you want to get into depth of networking or database or security. That's your choice, right? But one thing which is very important is that when you are doing this role or in this area, you need to be really thorough about explaining things to others, because at this level from you it is expected that you are not just a problem solver, you are also able to guide others. And especially in the cloud space, it happens because it's comparatively new still. It's comparatively still new, I would say, though a lot of people are using cloud, but it is still comparatively new. And what happens is there are a lot of myths, there are a lot of misconceptions, and generally people who are there in this range, they are responsible in an organization to take that organization in the right direction. So that's why it becomes really important for you. Yeah, I'll pause there.
So, okay, so I guess let's just complete the whole picture and briefly talk about the people who been in the
Yeah,
industry like over 10 years, have in-depth IT knowledge, but for some reason didn't have a chance to work in cloud. So, what sort of steps they should take?
right. So I think the third category which we have put here is more for quite senior people, right? So for example, typically head of departments, you can think, or people who are at the director level, right? That type of thing. And that's what I'm saying. Just don't see, with the year of experience, you might not be able to clearly align. You also need to see what type of role you are doing, and that's what I've mentioned here. So let's say quite senior people who have been leading organizations, leading departments, but now they need to understand cloud because their organization is starting to use cloud. So for those people, I think it's very important that they need to align the technology roadmap with the business goals, right? So for example, somebody comes and says that now we'll be using cloud. That's fine, but how does it happen that with the usage of cloud actually business goals would be met? That is something which they should be able to map. And that's where, if you just go for a minute to the certification part, I've mentioned that no certification is really required. If you are leading, or if you are actually in this senior role, a certification is not gonna matter at all. Whether you have a certification or not doesn't matter really. But it's great if, I mean, if you want to do, just go ahead and do a practitioner level thing, which is just the lowest level. Because in this type, when you are that senior, your role is more around guiding or enabling others to be able to go ahead and do things. And one thing which is very important for you to learn at that level is that you need to develop the skill set so that you can cut out the jargons, right? So whether it is cloud or any other technology, it's a thing with technology that you will hear new words, new jargons every day, and people will come and try to pitch you, right? That buy this or buy that thing and do this. So you need to have that much of understanding that you are able to ask right questions, and you are able to cut away those jargons, and you are able to understand that really how a particular offering would actually help you achieve business goals. Otherwise we'll be just wasting money. So I think that's for the most senior professionals. If you are doing that type of role, I think we can now try and look at some of the questions and try to answer in a more customized manner. We can do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, I think quite a few people here probably fit in this like second category of being,
Hmm.
5 to 10 years. So Anderson is saying, I'm getting my third AWS certification, but still struggling to get cloud project work. They say I have no work experience. What do you recommend? And also, he's mentioning he came from the infrastructure support roles.
Right,
Probably the
very
most
good.
common question
Most common
that
question. Yeah, yeah.
that everyone are asking. I've been doing certifications. I don't have experience. They want experience. Catch 22.
Yeah. So well, uh, I think just with the certification, of course, uh, a hiring manager won't take you. Any hiring manager generally tries to see whether you have done some hands on work or not. So a couple of options could be that you, based on what your learning is, you try to build some of your own personal projects which you can host somewhere, and include the links for those projects in your profile, so that the hiring manager can look at it. Sometimes in certain organizations there are opportunities of doing flex projects, or like getting involved with another team for a couple of hours every week. Try to see if you can get that type of opportunity in your organization. uh, but ultimately, what we need to achieve is that you need to do some work which you can show publicly. That's what you have to achieve. So either you do it on your own, or you do it by doing some part-time internship with someone, or if you see there is somebody in that particular field with whom you can join hands, or some freelancer, do anything of that sort. But alone certification on the resume would not take you to places. You will have to list that I know these things and I've done these things, right? Generally, a lot of places it happens that people just write in their resume the name of the services: EC2, EBS, S3, and VPC, just name of the services. It doesn't impress the hiring manager unless until you write that I have done ABC, these things using these services, or this is what I solved. Unless until people hear that in the resume, they won't be interested. So try and do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess when building something, you probably experience, you finding some mistakes, or you finding some little things, little tweaks that, maybe when you're reading certification, it's clear, but when you start doing it, you're realizing like, oh, I can do it this way, or I can do it this way, or I can, yeah, this use this tool instead of that tool, and maybe like finding your way
Yeah,
also
that
to,
happens a lot. That happens a lot.
yeah. And then basically it will be easier for you in the interview as well, talking about your experience, even if you didn't have a organizational, like commercial experience. You can talk about the challenges you have in with your personal project as well. We have another question as well. Sorry, I can't see your name for some reason. Coming up as LinkedIn user. If you put your name in the comments would be great. I don't know, LinkedIn sometimes doing strange things. Knowing what you know now, which vendor and which course certification would you do first? So that's, I guess, the most common question too. Like, what cloud is that? We're talking a bit about AWS today, but does it actually make any difference with which cloud you're going to start your journey?
Yeah. So I think it's like this. If you look at the market, right, the market share for like, look at the market share and pick top three. So top three would be AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. I will not say go ahead and check which one has higher share or lower share, but I think it is immaterial till the time you are choosing one out of top three, because the maximum amount of workload or the maximum amount of jobs would require the skill set from these three. So if you are picking anyone out of these three, it should be good. uh, doesn't matter. And don't think that, don't get, I mean, you should not get into this type of comparison or debate that which cloud is better than the other one. There is really no absolute winner which can say that this is the best cloud. It's not like that. It all depends on the use case of an organization and the type of discounts which they get from, in their deal, and based on that it works out. But I think what you should do is, any one out of top three, if you pick up, that's good enough. And with certification within that, I think that we have already discussed that depending on your current profile, you should choose the right level and move ahead from there.
And often, like hiring managers, like of course, if it's like a senior role, they would usually, want experience in particular cloud. But I mean, when it's a more like a junior mid role, it's usually doesn't really matter which cloud you work on. So because it's very so many transferable skills. Like if I don't know, if we're hiring for like junior role, if someone work in Azure and need to work in AWS, but we know that he's want to learn and talk about the ways he learned it and the project he did, it probably wouldn't make much difference which cloud the person been using. So
Yeah.
I
So
think
one
it
thing which I
really
will
depends on the project. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing which I'll add there is that yes, like as you said, for the junior roles, even for the senior roles, in certain cases, I would not say everywhere, but in certain cases, organizations uh, are open to taking people who have worked in the other cloud. For example, I know of people who had worked on AWS only, but they got into Microsoft Azure organization, right? And they are now working as a cloud architect in Azure, right? As a Microsoft employee. So even that happens. So I think it sometimes depends on that particular job role. But one thing which I'll just add here, and I think it would help everyone, if you have learned any one cloud, let's say you started with AWS, for example, and you think that now you have gained a necessary amount of depth, for you to learn Azure or Google Cloud would then be a lot. I mean, it would be quite easy. It is not going to be that difficult because a lot of concepts are going to be uh, are going to be same. There might be some different names and a slight tweak would be there, but then to a good level it would be same.
Yeah.
Yep.
James is saying approaching companies like gigs to you or companies who are willing to take the trainees. I don't know. Have you heard about the gigs to you?
I haven't heard, so I won't be able to comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but
People should take.
James send some links for people who is interested, so they can look at the traineeship programs as well. So Pranav, having a specific question about his situation. I'm in the technical side, but struggling at the Apex coding in Salesforce. I have a good understanding of functional duties and can do a better job as a functional consultant. How difficult and transaction will be as I don't have a hands-on and functional role? Any recommendation for a smoother transition for me?
I don't know if I can really answer that because that's more of a
Mm,
Salesforce thing. I'm not a Salesforce person really, so
yeah, so
probably not a thing for me.
yeah,
Sorry.
Pranav, if you be a bit more specific, if you done cloud or not, and and
Yeah,
then
if it is on
maybe
cloud side, I should be able to answer, but not on the Salesforce, not my area.
yeah. Um, Vijay is saying, I'm looking for some hands-on workshop, kind of more exposure to get architecture level in AWS. What would you recommend?
Yeah, that's a very good one. So there are two things which you can do. First is uh, AWS themselves, they have got a very good collection of workshops called workshops.aws. So if you just search for this URL, workshops.aws, go ahead and search it in Google. You will get an AWS maintained website where they kind of give you different workshops and you can search it by different services in which you are interested to learn or the area in which you are interested, and you'll also be able to see the difficulty level. So based on that you can go ahead and pick it up and then do it in your environment. You need to know that, like, you need to do it in your environment. You'll have instructions there, right? You'll have instructions there, but I think you need to do it in your account. That part you should know. So a tip would be that please understand the pricing of the services which you're going to use, so that you're not blowing up your bill. But then don't be worried, once you understand pricing, go ahead and learn things. So that's on the workshop type of things. Second is for architecture. What I would recommend is again, AWS maintains a series, or they're on a series called This Is My Architecture. So all you have to do is just search for AWS plus This Is My Architecture, and you will go on to AWS website where they have a series of videos where they invite different people from the industry who explain the AWS architecture which they are using in their organization, and that way you can get a real good understanding of how people do it on the ground.
Just for the context, VJs have 14 plus years experience in QA and system integrations and operations.
Yeah.
And someone just put the link for VJ, candrill.io.
Yeah, that looks more like, yeah, that's fine. Okay. I will
Not sure
not
about
comment
this
on
link.
that.
So,
I will not
um,
comment on that. On No, I'll not comment on that. Leave that.
No comments.
Yeah.
What about Udemy? Would you ever recommend Udemy for any of the workshops like that?
I haven't
Udemy.
seen a lot of I haven't seen a lot of workshop based things in Udemy. There are a lot of courses. People take those courses typically to pass the certification. That's what I've seen. I've been in this space for quite some time, but that's what I've seen people doing. Uh, if you are if you I think if your target is to go ahead and get certified, yes, you can go ahead, buy some course and get certified, yes. But the problem is this, right? The courses which are there in the market, when those courses are designed targeting the certification, then mostly that's what those courses do. Those courses make sure that you just cover those points or those topics properly, through which you are able to answer certification questions, and they do not really put you into those scenarios which you will face on the ground. So real hands-on learning and studying for certification are two different things. There is surely something common in them as well, but then it's quite different. For hands-on knowledge, people people need to go and spend time with AWS documentation, with AWS workshops, with AWS reinvent videos. Go ahead and watch reinvent videos. Go ahead and read AWS white papers. That's the only way to go ahead and get in-depth knowledge.
Yep, definitely. Um, I just want to quickly mention there's a few more people who mentioned their experience. Anastasia saying that 8 years of experience with software engineering, then 6 years career break, now re-entering the workforce. Anastasia, if we still didn't answer some of your specific questions, about your transition, you can also pop it in the comments. But I think we did kind of cover the idea what you do if you are moving from software engineering. And then Eduardo is 12 years working in big data centers with the infrastructure. So
Yeah.
the opposite. So guys, if you have any kind of specific questions, please pop it in the comments. The next, I guess, question we have and something to cover is what are, obviously with the different levels, we can move to the, start working in cloud. But what is the need of organization today? What's the organization actually looking for than looking for the person who will be working in cloud? So what sort of, I guess, skill sets, or not only skill sets, but the soft skills people looking for cloud people?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I think that's a very important thing for people to understand, and it is that, see, with cloud coming into picture, what has happened is that a new feature comes out every other week. So with the with this availability of new features every other week, the overall innovation also becomes faster, right? People are able to go ahead and out something new really quick, and then it becomes a standard very soon. So organizations who are really progressing, they are looking for people who have a mindset to explore, who have a mindset to try out things, right? You would have heard this term called fail fast. Why are they saying fail fast? I mean, is failing a good thing? If you are just failing and then stopping there, it's not a good thing. But if you fail quickly, learn from it, and then do the next thing in a better way, then that's a good thing, right? That you failed fast and now you're doing the right things. That's why they say fail fast. So organizations are looking for those people who are able to go ahead and really experiment, explore new things on their own. There are a lot of resources nowadays. The knowledge is not hidden anywhere. In fact, there is a lot of knowledge around. I think the thing which we need to learn today is how to pick the right knowledge source. Uh, so um, so I think that's a mindset which people need to build, or an attitude which people need to build when you start. And I would say for more of experienced people who have been doing things in other areas, let's say a lot of people who are currently working in the on-prem world, in the data centers, right? So one of the person actually commented also some time back. So we need to understand that when you do this transition from on-prem world to cloud, let's say you decide to get into the cloud space, what would happen is that a lot of ways of working would change. The way you were doing things in the on-prem world, a lot of that would change. I'm not saying there's no automation in the on-prem world. Even in the on-prem world, there is a good amount of automation nowadays. But still, when you start looking at cloud, uh, the automation can be at a level which is really hard to imagine unless until you have worked there, right? So you when you are getting into the cloud space, you need to be really open. You need to enter with that open mind, and you need to try and understand that maybe earlier we were doing things in a certain way. Let's say, if you just pick an example, in an on-prem world, if somebody asks you for a particular database server, it might take a couple of days for you to go ahead and give that. If you give in couple of hours, people would be very happy with you. If, let's say, somebody submits a request to give you to provision a database server in the morning, and if you have given that DB server in the evening, maybe the person will take you out for a drink. Okay, that might happen. But but if the same thing happens on cloud, then probably people are not going to be happy because you took many hours. The way organizations want to structure things is that it should be that easy for developers that they can go ahead and provision things on their own. So and that's where things come, like, okay, then it is very easy. People can just go to, let's say, AWS console or Azure console and just provision things on their own. But actually, in the real world, you do not do it that way, because then you also need to put guardrails. You just do not want to allow everyone to go ahead and do everything. So that's where people who understand cloud, they come into picture. They try and provision things in such a way that even if there is a developer who doesn't know everything about cloud, how do I expose the service in such a manner that the agility is not hindered, the developer is able to provision things in a correct way quickly, but at the same time, uh, developer is not able to go ahead and do something really stupid. Let's say, right? Let's say, opening something with to the whole world, those type of things should not be allowed. So people who are knowledgeable on cloud, they would go ahead and provision such things, or basically ensure that such guardrails are there in place. And that's about when you are learning a lot about security type of things, you will understand it really well, that how to do it in your organization. So yeah, I think we were talking about all of this. But yeah, the thing is that depending on in which space you are working, you need to get into quite a depth. Many times when people get started with cloud, one mistake which they do is they go and just learn couple of services, and if they are able to provision it, run those services, they think that now they understand cloud. No, it's not just about that. You need to think about the scenarios in which those services would get used in an organization. What all guardrails will you put around that so that it gets used in the correct format, and not in some non-acceptable format. So all those things also come into picture. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And what about current situation? What are some, I don't know, key trends in cloud industry right now, and how do you think that will impact career opportunities within the
So
cloud industry at the moment?
currently, if within cloud, if you see, there is a lot of stress on automation. So people who are able to do different sort of automation on cloud, they are more and more required. So when I say automation, it is about infrastructure related automation, it is about security guardrails being automated within your infrastructure, it is about deployment of your code in an automated manner. So all of that is required. That's one area. So any sort of automation. The second is and second one, I would say, and people are realizing this late, but now it is becoming an important thing, is all about um cloud financial management. Maintaining the cost. So in big organizations, maintaining the cloud cost is becoming a big thing. Earlier, people were not having, like, let's say, a dedicated person in an enterprise who was just doing this particular task. Generally the cloud team or the central cloud team used to manage it. But nowadays, big organizations, and I will not take names, but if you go ahead and look at some of the recent roles in the market, some of the big organizations in Australian market, they have advertised FinOps specific roles, people who will just do FinOps
Hmm.
work, right? That type of role. So FinOps is becoming another big thing. And uh, many of the times people just think that FinOps is all about just doing cost optimization. No, it is not just that. Cost optimization is just a part of FinOps. You actually do a lot more things in FinOps and not just cost optimization. But that would be the second thing. I think these two things are coming up quite well. And third would be security. There is always a gap when it comes to having people who have security related knowledge on cloud. In many good organizations, this part is in really bad shape. So I think those three people can easily pick up one out of those three, and they can go and specialize in that area.
I'm glad. I'm glad actually you mentioned that FinOps and optimization of the cost, because I think not recently I saw some post on LinkedIn. Someone was posting, "Where would I buy the servers? I can't afford my AWS bills anymore."
Yeah,
So,
those type of memes are there a lot, right? And it's because and see, that's what it tells you, right? When people are learning cloud, they are interested in learning the services, but the one thing which they always neglect is understanding the pricing of that service. That's one area which people very easily neglect. And in an organization, when you have this power in your hands that you can just go ahead and provision something, actually you are spending money of your organization. So you need to be really, really careful. And that's why such things happen. Yeah.
Himanshu has a question. I think we kind of partly answer that, but maybe something else you would like to add. Apart from cloud, we have the DevSecOps, microservices, now the AI and ChatGPT. Where you see the cloud heading from here now, as this is already 10, 15 years old, also, what do you recommend for a cloud practitioner to learn additional?
So uh, I think, like DevSecOps, this is thing which I already talked about, the automation part within the development space or the security space, or you combine all of that together. That is already there. Microservices uh, is actually an approach of developing your application. It has nothing to do only with cloud. I mean, you can have a microservices based, architecture based application and run it even in the on-prem space, not a problem. So it's more about building your application and following microservices there. Yes, it's possible on cloud, it's possible on prem, anywhere you can go ahead and do it. I think the things like AI and chat gpt, would it affect cloud or people working on cloud in any way? I don't think so, because we have to understand that cloud is actually the underlying place where you are hosting your workload. So as organizations were hosting the workloads in their own data centers earlier, now all of that is happening on cloud, right? So that is not going to change. It would not happen that the workloads will disappear. Workloads will continue to be there. AI or chat gpt, yes, these things might automate some of the redundant things probably with time. Yeah, that would happen. But I think you will always require people who who will be building solutions. You will always require developers in one form or the other. You will always need people who understand the requirement from a business leader or from a business team, let's say, and translates it into technical requirements. I don't think ChatGPT is doing that currently. If it does that, then I don't know, but it is not doing that. That you can just chat gpt can talk to a business person and just give the technical requirements for that. So I don't think we need to worry on that front. And even if cloud is 10-15 years old, this is not like some other or how do you say, no, it is not like some programming language which will go away because it is 10-15 years old, so a better programming language comes. Cloud in itself keeps evolving every week. As I said, better and better features keep coming. So something which was not possible earlier couple of years back, now that is possible. And something which is not possible today or is a constraint today, they will surely release an update on that in the coming months. That's how they are evolving. So they are like, I think they are doing well in terms of innovation, at least.
So
Yeah.
learn the FinOps. He wants to learn how
FinOps is very
to
important. FinOps is very important.
start.
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Learn how to cut the cost, because there's just so many people been complaining about the cost of cloud recently. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's definitely the roles there that need to be filled. I think there's a last question from Anderson. It's more like pineapple on pizza, yes or no? um,
Cloud formation or Terraform. Yeah. So for infrastructure as code, uh, whether you should choose cloud formation or Terraform, see, there are multiple factors on this. I'll actually suggest you that if you go to my channel, I have a 30 minutes analysis on this thing alone. There's a video, you can go ahead and watch it if you want to understand in detail. But in summary, I would say this, right? If your organization, I don't know if you're asking more from whether you should be learning it or for your organization you're asking. Actually, I should ask that first. But it's like this, right?
Probably learning, because
Learning.
Anderson was mentioning that he was doing third certification in AWS.
Okay.
So probably more
Okay.
for learning, my understanding.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So if it is more for your individual learning, Anderson, then and I would assume that you don't know both of these at this time. If that's the thing, you are at zero in terms of infrastructure as code, and you want to learn one thing, then go ahead and learn Terraform. That's what I would say. Because if you are at zero, it's better to learn Terraform, because that way, uh, if you are going for a job change, you will be able to do infrastructure as code. um for organizations which are using AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, you'll be able to do that. But please understand, uh, when you learn one out of these and then you try to study the other one, you will realize that it is not going to be much different, or very difficult. Really, it's quite easy, the approach which they take. So it's more about, it's not either or, it is just about which one first and then which one second. That's how I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, which one should I learn? So yeah, we were correct.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, pineapples and anchovies. Yeah. Cool. So we're getting to 52. Already 50 minutes into our live stream. So guys, I think it's time, for us to wrap up. We might have a time for like one last question, but let's just, I guess, talk about few more suggestions for learning to finish our live stream. There's a few points that Mayaki wanted to share to kind of leave people with
Yeah.
some ideas before they go ahead and learn cloud.
Yeah, sure. So, one thing which I would like to really stress is that people, during their learning process, many of the times they are worried about the cost. So, it's like this: if you are learning cloud, first of all, uh, get this straight, that you might not be able to learn and do everything just with the free credits, or within the free tier, right? So you create an AWS account and you get some amount of free tier usage. Yes, it's fine, it's good to get started. But if you have an expectation that you will learn everything just within that free tier, sorry, that won't happen. So you should not be scared to experiment on cloud, which means, uh, how will you get that confidence? You'll get that confidence when you start reading and understanding about the pricing of different services. Whenever you are interacting with a new service, you are provisioning a new service, instead of being scared, what you should do is go ahead and spend some time and understand its pricing. And when you understand its pricing, you'll not be worried that suddenly I'll get this bill. You will at least know that, yes, this is what I'm going to provision, and this is probably my bill. This is what my bill would be, maybe if I use it for one day. And you'll also know that these are the resources I should actually delete after doing my testing. So do that. You can also like set up billing alarms, which are really helpful. If you set up billing alarms in your account, you will get notified when you have spent a certain amount of money. So that would be really helpful. One thing which I tell people is that if you go ahead and you write any certification, it will cost you some X amount. So if you are investing, X dollars in certification, something of that sort or something equivalent to that or lesser than that, you should be okay to go ahead and spend in your learning. So for an example, you can go ahead and get a very good level of um, very good level of knowledge, and like you can go ahead and do a lot of experimentation if you just park maybe $50 or $100. And I think 50 or $100 for your overall learning shouldn't be a lot, but that much you should be okay to spend, right? And you need to understand that there are certain services which are not covered under free tier. So when you go ahead and provision them, you will incur some cost. But that does not mean that, oh, it is going to cost me, so I'll not provision it, I'll not play with it. That is a very wrong approach. Instead of that, understand the pricing mechanism and then go ahead and play with it. Certification alone without hands-on knowledge will not help. Certification helps you, uh, you know, in your resume getting picked. Yes, when a recruiter is looking at 50 or 70 profiles, if you are certified, yes, there are good chances that that recruiter will talk to you, right? But post that, you need to have hands-on knowledge, and then only you will be able to impress the hiring manager or even the recruiter, right? So hands-on knowledge is required, and that will come only when you go and do things on the ground. So please try to do that. We talked about it in the start as well, so listen to that if you haven't heard that already. Do not just watch videos or read documents. Try to build things on the ground. With cloud, it is possible today in an easy manner. So I have seen this with a lot of people. People get into this passive mode of just looking at things, right? They are just looking at videos one after another, but they're not going and trying out those things. Anything which you have just seen and you have not done it on, you don't go and do it after that, you won't remember it. You won't understand it. You will not find all those small glitches which happen while you are doing it. And if you do not find it, you won't be able to do it on the ground, or you won't be able to answer things related to that. So that's very important. Anything which you think you just saw and yeah, you understood it very well, sorry, you haven't understood it well. Yep.
Yeah.
So those are things from my end.
Yeah. We don't learn by watching, we learn by doing.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely I think that's probably the quote of this video. Make sure go and actually do something instead of just watching things. So thank you so much, Mayank. I think we covered a lot of information. I'm just cautious about the time. I'm going to announce the next speaker for next week. And while I'm doing that, that's your chance to scroll through the comments and choose the winner of our tonight's giveaway, someone who get the virtual coffee chat with you and can ask you more questions regarding the cloud, and maybe you can help them a little bit in that direction. And next week I'm gonna talk with Craig, and next week actually we're gonna talk about cloud again. We're gonna talk about cloud computing and the future of IT careers. So Craig gonna talk more about, I guess, holistic things, what's going on in the industry with the cloud. Craig is currently a solution architect himself. So if you're curious about the cloud, if you enjoy today's live stream, I recommend to join our live stream on the 3rd of May. So we're going to continue the conversation about the cloud. And while I was talking, Mayak, you already choose the winner. And the winner today is James Costas. Here we go, James, pineapple anchovies. So I'm going to connect you with Mayak so you can have a virtual coffee chat and, talk about your current experience and, the how maybe Mayak can point you in the right direction as well. So I guess, guys, I hope you enjoyed our discussion. Please make sure to like this video, because obviously it's encouraging me to keep going and keep bringing guests to my live streams. Obviously, A lot of you listening to me on LinkedIn. If you have a chance to subscribe on YouTube, it will be greatly appreciated as well, because it's always good to have some subscribers on YouTube as well. Don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to Mayank's channel as well. So if you want to learn more about AWS, and I don't know how many videos you have on your YouTube channel now.
Somewhere around 200 or so.
Yeah. So you can find a lot of information about cloud, Korean cloud, or any specific services and tools that connected to cloud. So if you want some help understanding those, definitely go ahead and subscribe to my ex channel. I'm going to put it on the comments as well. James is saying thank you. Thank you. So I'll definitely make sure I'm connect you as well. And we up at 6:30. Thank you again as well. There's a few more questions coming in, but guys, if we didn't answer your questions, we can take it on offline as well. Mayank, and just to finish this live stream, can you just put you on the spot? Can you share with us your favorite inspirational quote, or I don't know, some statement that you live your life by?
Uh, well, more than inspirational quote, I think there is one principle which we learned, and it is one of the leadership principles actually in Amazon, and I try to practice it as much as possible. It is dive deep. So Amazon has got like 14 leadership principles. That's what I remember. Maybe they have changed it now, but so one out of that is dive deep. I think in the technical area, or I think even in other places in life, it helps a lot. If you try to get into the depth of something, you get a better perspective, and then you are able to make better decisions. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think
And
dive deep, that's very important.
dive deep and learn by doing, not by watching. That's what
Yep.
our today's live stream about. And thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next week at 5:30 p.m.
Thank
Thank
you, thank you
you.
everyone. Thank you, Yana.